Hey everyone, welcome back. Daniel, today I'll be doing a overall rush E list with the new reverse contract anthem that lets you send your opponent's soul core or count as the condition to stack. Goku Oboro here looks very spicy, so we have a list dedicated to pushing your opponent's life down to 2, then we use Goku Oboro to finish them off. So what Goku Oboro does here is that overcount, 7 count or more, during OC and during Advent. When Advents or attack, once per turn, same name. Besides this spirit, you can destroy up to 5 spirit ultimates you and your opponent control with 5 cores or less. If 3 or more are destroyed, send 2 life to the opponent's trash. And it's doing OC effect, which is a passive. Your Judgment and Blood Crystal family effects that target opposing spirit or ultimate cannot be prevented by opposing effects. So what makes Goku overall very strong is the first skill, of course, because you just need to destroy 3 things and you send 2 lives to trash, which is relatively easy because we are going with the line of Rush E, means our boards are relatively wide. So even if your opponent decides to end their turn board empty, you can still push for a lot of damage with the overall list as well. Next in line we have his previous final form, Oni Oboro, which on Advent or on attack you can destroy up to 3 spirits or ultimates you and your opponent control with 3 cores or less. And when destroyed, the symbols of all your purple spirits are treated as 2 purple symbols. So basically you increase the amount of damage output you can do per spirit. Instead of 1 is 2, so essentially doubling the damage. And the OC effect lets you restand this spirit when your Blood Crystal family effect destroys spirits you or your opponent controls. Oboro likes to do a lot of destruction on both ends of the table because he can draw cards when your Blood Crystal family effect destroys spirits or ultimates you or your opponent's control, which is very nice, which means every instance of destruction is a trigger to draw a card. And because Oboro is 2-2, we run 3 copies of it. Next, we have our 3 death slots. The reason why we're running death slot here is because it has a, when you control a Oboro in Soul State or Pre-Advent or live, if your opponent or yourself has any level 2 spirits, you can summon him treating as full reduction. Oh, it's not even in hand, not bad. So as long as you're summoning him and you have a level 2 spirit, you or your opponent has a level 2 spirit and you have an Oboro, he can come out for essentially 1 cost. And his on summon / destroy effect is adding 1 count, and once per turn same you can destroy any number of level 2 spirits you or your opponent controls. And for each spirit destroyed, you add 1 core from void to the spirit. So technically speaking, if your opponent goes wide with level 2 things, you basically bump yourself a lot of core so that you can continue to go rush E. And level 2 3 during your attack step, when your spirits are destroyed by an effect during this turn, your opponent cannot end the attack step by effects. So this is like everything we want aggressive for Oboro in a nutshell in 1 card. So that's why we run 3, and he can become summoned at 1 cost, which is absolutely insane. Next we run 3 Smoke Brown Bear and 3 Tatsu Oboro, which is the dragon. So Smoke Brown Bear is mostly for opposing turn removals and resummoning of your Oboro if it's heavy exhausted by the opponent somehow, and basically just reset your Oboro back to be able to refresh. And you can also draw cards because every time you destroy something, you draw more cards. Now Tatsu Oboro is a bit more of a aggressive style Advent because what it does is it sends 2 calls from any opposing spirit to the reserve. This effect cannot bring calls to less than 1 on opposing spirit and ultimates. Then you can destroy a spirit you or opponent controls with 1 or less call. So essentially, this sets up your Oboro because your Oboro's attack also gives you +2 count and destroy 1 spirit ultimate with 1 core or less on it. So synergy, and also it's overcount during your attack step. When your Blood Crystal family effect destroys anything you control, you can discard a random card for your opponent's hand, which decreases their defenses which in turn lets you rush E faster. Next, we run a whole line of full reduction spirits. So first we have Zetsume. So Zetsume has a Mirage effect that lets you summon Blood Crystal Family Spirits when your Blood Crystal Family Spirits will leave the field. So this lets you trigger your Death Lords, and because we run a lot of full reduction spirits, if you have enough symbols on the table, you'll be able to just keep summoning more and more attackers every time one leaves, which is absolutely insane. And when destroyed, it gives you 2 count, and destroying the opposing spirit with 2 cores or less on it. So basically, if your opponent tries to be tricky and put their stuff at 2 core, and your Boro cannot reach the spirit, then you can use Zetsume to pop yourself, draw a card, use Zetsume, pop the 2 core or less, and you draw another card. So value is a lot in this deck. You just want to draw cards, and when you hit 7 count or more once per turn, same name, you can take your Soul Call back to a Curse Contract Family Spirit you control, which lets you extend your advent plays. Technically, it allows you to go from Tatsu to Onioboro, and then eventually to Goku. But technically, a lot of the time you just want to go Goku, slam, and then 2 life to trash. Next we have the new Forbidden Dragon Taboo. It has the same on destroy effect as Zetsume, where you get +2 count, but you get to draw a card. It has an additional effect, once per turn, same name. If you have 5 count or more, you can draw a card. And at level 2 and 3, if it's destroyed, you can treat this spirit as colorless, and you can destroy an opposing spirit or alternate with 3 cores or less, 3 cores or more on it. So this helps your Boro reach stuff that you normally cannot reach. Like, the deck initially has struggles with anything that has Ball Call or more. So now with Taboo here, you can now have the freedom to pop almost anything. Anything, really. Because you go colorless, which means you can finally hit Strike Worms. Your Goku Oboro lets your stuff cannot be prevented, means you can hit all the problematic things in the meta that are unaffected, which is absolutely great. So the next card we play is not a Blood Crystal, but it's a full reduction spirit that does many good things. It's Vampire Volk. Vampire Volk. So his passive is the opposing Soul Call is unaffected by opposing effects. Also, while the opposing Soul Call isn't in the reserve, this spirit cannot be destroyed by opposing effects. So this is essentially a stronger Dark Tower because your opponent cannot move their Soul Call with effects, essentially. And if they will decide to be cheeky and pay for cost using Soul Call, then you have literally a indestructible wolf here, which is nice. And also the start of the next step, if the opposing Soul Call isn't in the reserve, you draw a card. So basically, if your opponent wants to not let you have value, they have to devalue themselves, which is something that Purple likes to do, and it is very nice, especially for this list, because one, it's a full reduction spirit, so it's easily ploppable onto the table, and its effects are decent if you draw cards, so it's 1 for 1, it covers itself and does more, which is great. You run 3 copies of the cost 0 Armored Ogre Gashin, because when destroyed, if you have a Oboro, you get 1 count and destroy an opposing spirit with 1 core or less one. But most of the time, it's here because it's a 0 cost spirit, which means you can make everything in your deck triple. You run 3 Purple Worlds and 3 Moon Ogre Castle. Moon Ogre Castle stops a lot of the hand traps that summon without paying cost, except for Arcade Gundam. So this makes it, even Arcade Gundam is stopped by this. So basically, if your opponent wants to summon any spirit card that is not paying their original cost, you need to pay their original cost, which is very good, because most of the times the point of running hand traps is to cheat things out, and it doesn't hurt us with our judgment, because our judgment summons itself by treating all its reductions as fulfilled. So it's different than summoning by paying X cost. It also has a second effect. Flash by destroying a Blood Crystal Family Spirit you control, you draw a card. So basically, you can pop your Death Lord, you can pop your Taboo, you pop your Zetsume, you can also pop your Bear and your Gashin, or sometimes your Oboro if you are very desperate to get yourself out of certain situations. Then, and it's flash timing as well, so it can be used anytime during your turn and in flash timing on the opponent's turn, which is essentially very strong. So for defenses, we run 4 sets of defenses because this is a rush deck. So we run 2 copies of Judgment. Because we are running Oboro, we are allowed to run the Judgment package with the Oracle Spirit and the Over Judgment. So the Judgment has an effect that when your life is reduced by the opponent, if you have an Oboro in soul state or preeminent or alive, you get to summon this card by treating all its reductions as failed, and you gain 1 life from the void. So it recovers your HP while having an extra body, and it pushes for destruction effects as well, because once per turn you can destroy an opposing 1 symbol spirit ultimate. If you have 6 counters or more, you can hit 2 symbols or more. And it's when summoned attack, so with the deck being able to scale to 6 counts really fast, this effect becomes super deadly because you can hit Brave Spirits, Brave Ultimates, which is very common in this current era with the new Flashing Blades out. So yeah, having this as a defensive hand trap option is very good, and it also doesn't get hurt by Moon Over Castle. So pluses for you, minuses for the opponent. That's what we like to do. Now next is the 2 copies of Over Judgment. So it's 7 cost, but if you have an Oboro, it's treated as cost 4 instead when you want to pay cost for it. It ends the battle and has the Diamond War effect of your life can only be reduced by 1. So ending battle is important for certain matchups because you just don't want to eat that much damage in 1 hit. And after that, your opponent technically can't kill you if you are above 2 life, essentially. And the Mirage effect is also relatively decent because if you have an Oboro in pre-event, or rather at the end of the battle that your Spirit with Oboro as a pre-event card ends, you can send 1 life to reserve. So with that and Goku, you are essentially dealing 2-1-1. So 2 for effect damage, 1 for battle damage, and then 1 end of battle damage. So you can technically push your opponent to like 4 life and then you can threaten the lethal every time. Only Oboro is also pushing for lethal because you gain 2 symbols and then you swing, restand, swing. So it's 4 damage there as well. But we are Rush E, so we are definitely able to push our opponents to low HP and then finish off with Goku Oboro. And eating opponents' counts with Goku Oboro is also the aim here, because if our opponent doesn't gain enough counts, the -1 count will hurt them a lot, or eating their soul core to trash will also hurt them a lot, because that means they can't use defensive weapons as well, which is why Oboro now is very hyped in Japan. And yeah, so far I'm liking this full reduction Rush E list. I hope you guys also enjoyed this list as well. If you guys like what you see, do hit that like and subscribe. Do ring that bell as well, so you can see the wonderful videos that I'm going to be making for Battle Spirits. And yeah, hope to see you in the next one. じゃあねー。